Hi, okay, so this is part two of my series. I don't know how many videos I'm going to make, but this is the second one. And I want to talk in this video about the reason that I said in the last video, that public education is probably, you could look at it several different ways, but it's kind of like the priority issue for me. I will talk in future videos about, there's a couple other issues that could definitely, take over as number one priority issue, and I'll talk about that later on. But my fundamental view is that um, public education is the most important issue for many of us today, especially here in Texas. And also, I want to talk about the state of why I want to talk about this issue in this video. So let me start with a little intro, because as I said, a lot of people have unfriended me or I'm estranged from family because of my shifting views. And they may not, you know, I don't know who will see this if people share it with you. I do hope that people know about me, first of all, that um, I'm a teacher. That's been my career, specifically music teacher, choir director. I'm still a choir director for a community choir, and I'm now a school counselor. So I've been in education 30-ish years. Took time off with my kids. My husband's a retired band director. So we're a big musical family, and majority of our friends are music teachers, band directors. We know a lot of people in the music world and education. Um, we have 3 adult children. So I'm also a Navy mom, foster mom, former foster mom, adoptive mom, and musician mom. And we, just so you know what has influenced our views, both my husband and I grew up very conservative homes. His family was from the East Coast. My family was from the West Coast, but also very international. I was born in Taiwan. I've had 2 missionary parents, long line. Many family members are missionaries, many adopted family members. Our family's been very active in Christian missions, adoption, and then my dad has had a ministry to the Chinese here in Houston for ever since we got here in the 80s. Um, well, maybe later than that. Maybe more into the 90s, I think, is when he started that. Um, so, anyway, that's kind of my background. I wanted to share that because as our kids have grown, we raised our kids very conservative, going to church every Sunday. I was involved in all the things. I was a Bible study teacher. I was actually a candidate for deacon for a year. That's a long story that I won't get into. I have worked in church ministry myself, and in between times when I was not a teacher. And I felt a call for sure from God in 2004, which I think is still, I'm still on that call. Again, I won't get into that in this video. There's a whole lot of other things I could tell you about my journey. Because of our adopted daughter's journey and her joining our family, everything from her story to what happened after, since, which was 15 years ago, we officially adopted her as a teenager. That is what our journey with her and my mental health journey have been the biggest factors in what has shifted my views. But I will also say that my parents were very international, and well traveled. I saw much of the world before I was 2 years old, although I don't remember that part of it. But I have traveled the world with friends, primarily, um, and family. Our kids, we've done that. I've been to many countries, and so that has guided me in seeing a more expansive side of the world. And what also has influenced me is that I did grow up in a very um, conservative home, but my parents also raised me to be very open because we were heavily involved in community theater. My parents loved that, and so we as kids were always in plays and musicals. And then my parents always worked in church ministry as musicians, so then we were leading worship on Sunday. I was singing in the choir at school, or I was in plays. Um, that was literally my childhood, performing, singing, and so it just made sense when I went to college. I couldn't really afford to go away to school. I started at U of H, commuting my first year, just to get started. And I fell in love with the idea of being a music teacher. I just couldn't imagine really doing anything else. And again, going to college shifted my views, being a part of the theater and being exposed to lots of different types of people as a musician, being exposed to lots of different type of people. But with my Christian root values, it always taught me to be accepting and have empathy and care about other people and what they're going through, with also being able to wrestle with God on those influences, as in what do I believe about their life, or what their choices are, and what they believe, what they think. And to me, that always seemed to come from a place not of judgment, but I mean, I'm sure I've been judgmental. I'm not saying I'm perfect about that. I don't claim to be. I try to address my biases. I always encourage anybody to come to me and correct me if I said something that sounded like it was biased. I want to be. I want to know about that. I don't like it when people do it in a mean way, but I appreciate learning and growing and evolving as a person, because that's what this really is about. And anyway, I just found that I was curious about people, and part of that's because I think I'm what they call a highly sensitive person. It's not like a diagnosis, but it is something that they found through scientific research, that I think up to a third of the population are highly sensitive. It means that like your mirror neurons, if you're an empath, your mirror neurons are, you're more aware of other people's emotions. It's like if I see you cry, I cry. It's that kind of thing. We all have that, but some people have more than others. And also that has to do with your neurological pathways. Like, I'm more highly sensitive to light and noises, believe it or not, even though I became a music teacher and I was a musician. It's certain sounds, though, for me. Some people, that manifests itself in textures, or food textures, how your clothes feel, things like that. And that's, whoa, sorry. And that's kind of shaped my views a lot, because I feel like I've tried to be very, I've been always very aware and sensitive of how people feel. So this is part 2, just to kind of give you an overview of why my views have changed. And I wanted to let you know that, full circle, what I want to make this series about is public education, is because probably the most important impact on my life, in addition to all those other things, what shifted my views is as a teacher and a choir director, and now as those are the amount of mental health work that I was doing in the music room and the choir room led me to get a master's in counseling, and I'm now working as a school counselor, and I'm working on taking the test to towards my LPC. And so I care a lot about the mental health intersection of that as well. And that's really what has driven my passion and my empathy for what's happening in our schools and why it's the number one issue, in my opinion, of what we need to care about and in our what drives our voting. And so I wanted to let you know that I'm a regular person and I have these views because of what I've experienced. I also encourage you to look back at some of the things that have influenced your views and where you are. I would love to have a roundtable of people talk about just how you got to be where you are. And I think some people might want to just admit that they got to that issue because it's what they were taught when they grew up, or it's because that's what their church is talking about, or their Bible study is talking about, or their neighbors are talking about, or their kids are talking about, or their longtime friends, something happened to them and this influenced them to change their mind about something, or they read a book that changed their mind about something. Or something happened to you that, you've lost someone, or there was an issue, some kind of trauma that has influenced you. We all have reasons why we come to where we are. And I think when we start asking those questions, when we look at other people and realize, okay, I can see why she cares about that. I have lots of friends that care about dogs because we have dogs. And I think that a lot of people that do rescue, like dog rescue, for example, why do they do that? Because they really care about rescuing dogs and being helpful in that area. That's something they feel passionate about. Not everybody can rescue dogs. We have 2 rescue dogs, but I wouldn't want to be a foster dog. I think it's hilarious to watch these videos. I just shared with my family this video of a dog running around, and they said it's the Zoomies training, and it's all these little puppies following the doggy, and I just think it's hilarious. Do I want that in real life? No. And, it's like we fostered our daughter, and then we adopted her, and I wanted to do more of that. We did have one of his students lived with us. We call him our bonus kid for a while. And we've had an exchange student, although he wasn't like an affiliate through the exchange program, but he lived here for a summer. And so we've had these other kids, a lot of our students, my husband and I both keep in touch with former students, and we just care a lot about that. And so, people joke, I would love to foster more, and then I think about the reality of the day-to-day of that is really hard. And so I think now, I'm 57. I don't want to actually take care of babies and take care of little kids. I like doing it for my job, but I don't want them in my house 24/7. I love my granddaughter. I love when I get to see her and she's over at our house. I would have her for several days, and then I would be like, yay, she's going home. Because, I've had that season. And some people love that and would do it forever, and that's great. But this is my point, is that we all have things that we care about. We all have things that we're passionate about. We all have things that we're kind of lukewarm about. And then we have things that we could care less about or have no interest in. And I could tell you a long list of things for that because I know what they are. But some of you, you're so busy focused on your job and just whatever your kids are doing, maybe you haven't really thought about what you believe or what you care about or what you want to speak up and fight for. And I think what happens too easily on this topic also, if I might say, and then I'm going to cut this one short, is we often see the rage headlines, or we have a influencer we follow that starts talking about something, and we're like, yeah, I'm on board with that. But have we really stopped to think about that, yeah, I'm on board with that? Or have we thought about all the ramifications of what we're promoting? So I hope that what you take from this video, I know I'm long and rambly, that before I talk about the importance of public education and why it's my top issue, it's because I've done the work to really see the data and how so many issues that we all care about are connected to a quality, strong, free public education. That's my view because I've done the research on it. You may not know or care about that, and that's fine. My goal of this series is not that I would necessarily change your mind. It's more about for us understanding each other and to perhaps be open to learning something that you may not realize. Oh, I didn't know that was that, or I didn't know that's how it worked, or I learned something new today, and that's fine. I don't feel compelled to make you change your mind. I would love it if you changed your mind because then we would have more people supporting public education. But I think that really underneath that is the goal that we would start listening to each other, that we would care about, like, you know, if you tell me you care about saving frogs in the Amazon, or you care about making sure that the oil and gas industry is propped up and successful for long years to come. I gave you some extremes there because those issues sometimes conflict and they're different people. And I think that we can all care about what we care about. I'm just asking, do you really know why? What is at the root of what you care about? And if you really care about that issue, I challenge you, please tell me or share, you know, what are some reasons that you're for that issue, because and have you looked at all the sides of it? Because if you've only looked at one side of it and you're like, yeah, I'm way for this issue because of this. Okay, there are bugs out here. If that's true, great. But have you really looked at the opposing view? Have you really listened? Have you really listened to why it might be dangerous or bad or not a good idea for everyone? Have you really heard and paid attention to the argument, or are you just mad because of what you see on the surface, or you don't like those people, or whatever the reason is? I think that's my point, is we need to find the reasons why we're for something, not just I'm against that because of, you know, Billy Bob said whatever. I'm making up something that probably sounds disrespectful, and I'm not disrespectful to Billy Bob. He probably has great ideas, but he may not know all the ideas, and we just need to be open to that. Okay, so stay tuned.